All right, we're talking 49er football. Niners and Panthers go Sunday in Carolina. Larry Krueger with you as we get you ready for the Panthers and the 49ers. And Anish Shroff is the voice of the Panthers, and he's with us. You know him from ESPN. You recognize him doing college football, doing Tulane this week, and then he's going to turn around and do the Niners and the Panthers as well. Anish, thanks for the time, and we appreciate you making time for us. And man, on paper, this is looking very much like maybe a one-sided affair because you got the number one rated defense, you got a very lowly rated offense. How much of a struggle has it been this year for the Panthers offensively?
It's been hard. It's been tough. They have not really found any rhythm, any flow. Sustaining drives has been a problem. Converting third downs has been a problem. Baker Mayfield has really struggled these first four games. And you look at some of the other pieces around Baker, they have solid receivers. Christian McCaffrey is healthy. The offensive line is upgraded. Yet it just seems that outside of a splash big play, once a game or a little, flash here and there just hasn't been any sustained rhythm, any flow to this offense so far. And they've relied, frankly, on their defense to carry them and keep them in every game. But offensively, they need more.
What is your takeaway on Mayfield? Obviously, he's had an interesting career to date. I think he's a pretty talented quarterback. He's had an awful lot of passes batted down. Is it just that he's getting comfortable? I know it usually takes a while for quarterbacks and wide receivers to hammer out those practice reps and kind of get on the same page. To me, the disappointing factor is the lack of production from DJ Moore. Is that something you point to? Just there's not a lot of familiarity there.
I wouldn't pin it on that. I just think some of it is on Baker, and he'd be the first to tell you, hey, the batted passes, 11 in 4 games, 4 in the opener against Cleveland, 5 last time out against Arizona. That's something that needs to be corrected. They've got to find ways around that. DJ Moore's a talented receiver. He's at 1,100 yards, 3+ seasons in a row. They did target him quite a bit more last game than the previous games. But, again, if those passes are getting batted down at the line of scrimmage, we're not even giving DJ Moore a chance here to make a play. So, fairly or unfairly, I think a good deal of it does fall on the quarterback. And again, Baker's the first guy to tell you, hey, he's got to play better. He knows it. The quarterback play has to improve. I said before the season, they don't need Mozart at quarterback. They need Salieri. It's like the movie Amadeus. Just be average.
Right.
If they could have average quarterback play right now, you're probably looking at a team that at minimum is 3-1.
What do you think of the rookie left tackle from NC State? From everything I'm hearing, he might be a 10-year starter and a future Pro Bowler. How's he looked?
He's gotten better every game. It's been real encouraging. And you think of the way the season started. His first game, he had Myles Garrett. And then you got, Cameron Jordan. And then last week it's J.J. Watt and Zach Allen. So you get Nick Bosa this week. He's been thrust into the fire. There's been no ease. There's been no easing into it for Ike Ekwonu. But he's got a chance to be a pretty good one. He's much better right now in the run game than he is in the pass game. But the thing with Icky that you notice, he's getting better and better every week. And this offensive line was a real weakness a season ago. They struggled. They gave up 50+ sacks. The offensive line has gotten to the point where it is a very solid unit, certainly above average right now in the NFL.
When you think Panthers, at least from my mind, you think of Christian McCaffrey, and all the Bay Area football fans are very familiar with him, dating back to his days at Stanford. It's always about health, it seems like, with McCaffrey. He runs kind of upright, he takes some hits, but man, when he is healthy and rolling, there may not be a better back in the league. What's his physical status? How's he looking early in this season?
Well, I think this week might be the first week he's not on the injury report, but he's looked healthy. He had a great camp. He had back-to-back 100-yard games against the Giants and the Saints, and then, he showed what else he can do if you can take away the run last week. The Panthers didn't really run the ball against Arizona. He had 9 catches, 81 yards, had a big touchdown catch late in the game. He looks healthy, and if the Panthers get a full season out of Christian, you're looking at, again, the addition of a guy who's a top 5 offensive player in this league. You have to account for him. He stresses the defense. He can catch the ball. You can put him out wide in the slot. He can run the ball. He can break tackles. He can make plays in space. He's a special talent, and having him healthy, especially with some of the injuries going on this week, is going to be huge.
Talking to some of the people out in Carolina, I get the feeling that, Matt Rhule was really under the gun. Now, I've seen the odds on, who's the next coach to be fired and that kind of thing, and he's at or near the top of that list for the last 4 or 5 weeks. What's your feel? I mean, it seems like they came in, they worked on one side of the football as far as personnel, and I know they're somewhat disappointing, but is he at the end of his rope? Is he feeling the pressure? Is that a story that's hovering over this team, or is that a media creation?
Just from talking to him a few times every week, I don't sense any added pressure than what you would expect from any NFL coach. I think we all get it. It's a business, right? It's the NFL. We know how it works. I think, the coaching staff understands that. Nobody wants to hear, hey, we're close and we could have won if not for this, if not for this. But the reality is it is an improved roster. And I think if they can get this offense untracked, if they can get out of quicksand offensively, there's some upside with this team. I think considerable upside, especially given how the defense is played. So, these next 3 games I think are important, given it's San Francisco, it's LA, it's Tampa. Those are your last 3 NFC champions. And I'm curious to see if, some of the stuff that's gone on these first 4 games, can that be fixed? I see it right now more as bugs than features. But again, the longer it goes, you lose that excuse, you lose that benefit of the doubt. People will start to say, well, maybe this is just a feature of what the offense is. They think it's correctable. So now you've got to go correct it. It's one of those things where I think however it plays out, ultimately it's going to be determined by wins and losses.
Sure. And I mentioned McCaffrey before, but there's also a lot of speculation that they may move McCaffrey before the trade deadline. To me, just looking at the numbers, that seems like almost a near impossibility. But is there a team out there that could absorb that huge contract? How viable do you think that is?
Yeah, I think that's just speculation. I'd be very stunned if that happened.
You mentioned the D line. The D line has, there's some real talent there. Derek Brown was a high pick. I think Brian Burns off the edge is really, really fun to watch. One of the best in football. The kid from Penn State, Gross Matos, is definitely a talented guy. They bring in the workman like defensive tackle and Ioannidis. How is that defensive front looking? It seems like Burns is just, really a revelation off the edge.
Yeah, Brian Burns is a guy who I think we're watching go from a very good player into that next stratosphere, into that next tier where he's ready to become, a star, maybe a superstar in this league. His get off is uncanny. He's got really quick get off. He can get in the backfield. He can create pressure. And really the big story on the D line this year has been Derek Brown. For his first 2 years, we were waiting to see what he can be. Can he be the guy that was a top 10 pick? He's been one of their most consistent players up front. It doesn't necessarily show up in the stat sheet, but he moves guys and he allows others around him to make plays. And he's been disruptive. He's been a chaos agent. He had an interception in the game against the Saints on a tip ball. He's blown up plays. So Derek Brown, I think, has changed that defensive front where they struggled to stop the run last year. They've actually been pretty good against the run. What's ailed the defense as a whole this year is they've gotten worn down because the offense has too many short drives, and you'll get into the fourth quarter and they've just played too many snaps and they've been on the field too long.
Yeah, I mean, you could actually make the same claim about the 49ers, except they're just so deep on that side of the ball. How about the safeties? To me, one of my favorite draft picks in the last few years is Jeremy Chin.
Yeah.
He's just such a revelation. I mean, physically dominant, fast, big, physical. But he's dinged up, and they're leaning on Sean Chandler and Xavier Woods. Is Woods also a little dinged up? How do you expect Chin's not going to go, right? And
well, Chin's on IR.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what's
Chin's on IR, so he's going to be out. He's got a severe hamstring strain, so he'll be out at least 4 games. Xavier Woods has been, battling a little injury as well, so his status will probably be determined either later Friday or probably in the next day or so, maybe even a game time decision. They have Marquise Blair, who they signed, um, former second round pick of Seattle out of Utah. He's been elevated from the practice squad. You got Justin Burris potentially as an option. He's played a lot. But again, Woods is your communicator on the back end, and that's why they brought him in. That's why they signed him. He organizes the defense. That's been invaluable when you talk to the coaches. And Chin is another guy, much like Brian Burns. I mean, he's on the cusp of becoming, one of the next great safeties in this league. And you can play him in the box. He can play coverage. He can blitz. He can do so many different things that you have to account for as an offense. There's no way to sugarcoat it. That's a big loss.
Anish, tell us about J.C. Horn, man. I loved him at South Carolina, and he's had a couple injuries, but man, he's a talented guy. I'm seeing him listed here at right corner. Does he stay at right corner? Does he move around with the opposition's best receiver? The 49ers roll in, obviously, as you know, with Debo and Ayuk. Both those guys are, on the edge of stardom in the NFL. Who's going to draw Horn most of the afternoon?
Well, what they like about J.C. Horn is his versatility. He can play outside. He can also play nickel if you need that. Certainly Miles Hartsfield may have to move to safety, who's also a nickel guy for the Panthers with Chin and maybe even Woods being out. So J.C. Horn's a guy that might move from slot corner to the outside. He's a stud. Last year, before he got hurt as a rookie, he'd given up 1 catch in 3 games, and he broke his foot. He was out for the rest of the season. This year, the first game he wasn't at his best, but since then, he's really picked it up to the point now where if you look at the PFF, the Pro Football Focus numbers, he's graded out as one of the top corners in the NFL.
Give us the national perspective, since I know you're at ESPN. Give us the national perspective on the 49ers. We're so, in your market, you're so immersed in a team that sometimes I feel like you can't see the forest through the trees. What's the national thought on the 49ers from afar as they go from Trey Lance to Jimmy Garoppolo, and they have this incredible defense?
Yeah, I think it starts with the defense, depth and stars at every level. A chance to be an elite defense. They're giving up less than 4 yards per play. You look at some of their metrics through these first 4 games, it ranks up with some of the best defenses that we've seen in the last 20 years. I think I saw a number somewhere, their average yards per play that they're giving up right now through 4 games has a chance to be on a historic level. And the last team that was in that vicinity was the 08 Pittsburgh team, which, oh, by the way, won the Super Bowl. So I think it starts with their defense. That defense is going to keep them in every game. They've got a unicorn in Deebo Samuel. Seems like we're still waiting for George Kittle to kind of find his footing. I know he's coming off an injury. And can he be, the playmaker that he's been in the past as the tight end? And then with Garoppolo, again, the question with Jimmy is not going to really come up until you get in the postseason. Is he that guy that can get you all the way to the finish line? Can he get you to El Dorado? He's been close. And if he completes one pass against the Chiefs, we may be looking at Jimmy Garoppolo differently. Maybe Trey Lance is never drafted, I personally think, given what the 49ers have, you have a game manager type in Garoppolo, you can win that way. I think you can win big that way. We've seen the Ravens do it with Joe Flacco. We've seen the Giants do it with Eli Manning. So, I'm not as down on Garoppolo as maybe some other people are. And I almost feel in some ways he's the safer play than Trey Lance, who, yes, offers higher upside, also offers higher risk. And the way this team is built, it feels, from my perspective, you kind of want to mitigate risk. This is a team where, especially the way the NFL is now, if you don't beat yourself, you got a pretty good chance to win.
Anish, let's finish up talking about you. I remember seeing you on ESPN News. I played collegiate lacrosse, and I think I caught you doing maybe the Final Four for lacrosse for ESPN. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. We really out here on the West Coast enjoy your work.
Well, I appreciate it. This will be my first year with the Panthers, so it's been exciting. I still love college football, so I'm doing that every Saturday, and I'll cover college basketball once we roll into January and probably December if it's earlier. And then I've been the lead voice for lacrosse on ESPN now for the last 5-6 years. So it's a full plate, but for me, it's you don't really have time to kind of think back and have perspective when you have all this on your itinerary, and it's where am I today, where am I tomorrow, and what am I prepping for the day after that.
Well, and tell us a little bit about your background. You're a Syracuse guy, right? And you go to the Cuse.
I am, yeah, I am a Syracuse guy, class of 2004. So went there to follow in the footsteps of a lot of folks who I look up to, and a lot of people look up to in this business.
Yeah, no, seriously. We enjoy your work. What kind of game do you expect? I mean, it's a late start for the Panthers. That's a little surprising. I thought for sure when I saw this one on the schedule it would be a 10 a.m. West Coast start, but it's in the afternoon window.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that make this interesting is one, the 49ers are coming off a short week having played on Monday. You factor in cross-country travel, which is very real. And then this is a bit of an intangible, and I know this is a veteran team, but you're coming off that emotional high. You're playing the Rams, a team that you played in the NFC Championship last year. I would imagine human, the basic human emotion, there might be a little bit of a letdown. Going from an NFC Championship rematch to a cross-country game against a Carolina team that's 1-3, those could be mitigating factors in how this thing plays out. But I don't expect this to be high scoring. The Panthers have been strong on defense. 49ers, we know what they can do on defense. I don't expect a high scoring game. I think this is a low scoring game. It's the team that turns it over, the team that makes a couple of miscues, that's going to cost itself. This feels to me like a game where it's not so much who makes the big play to win, it's who makes the bad play to lose.
Last one for you. You're in the college basketball mecca, I think. I mean, when I think of North Carolina, I think of Duke and NC State and Wake and obviously Carolina. How much is it I know it's a college basketball market, but has it become a pro football market, or are they still more into the Heels and Duke and NC State and the ACC stuff around town? Or around the
Make no
state, I should
mistake.
say.
Make no mistake. Listen, college basketball matters. It's obviously huge, especially when you have a season like last year with Coach K and his final run and Duke to the Final Four, North Carolina beating Duke twice in the ACC tournament, then again in the Final Four, playing for a national championship. That's a huge deal. But the Panthers, they are king. Carolina, the football team, it's still the driving force in terms of where the coverage is locally. It's still the team that spills the most stink. It's still everybody talking about Christian's health and Baker Mayfield and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, everyone's got an angle on the Panthers. That seems to be 365 days. Do we get excited about our college basketball out here? Absolutely. But listen, and when the Panthers were rolling, and Cam Newton was in his prime, I mean, this was the team for the Carolinas, two states. So college basketball is huge. It will always be huge. But, the NFL is still the NFL, Larry.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Anish, thanks for your time. Have a great call on Sunday afternoon, and we appreciate you stopping by and helping us preview this for our fans out in the UK, 49er fans abroad. Appreciate it, and we're big fans of your work. Keep it rolling, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anish Shroff stopping by on the Krueger Show as we get you ready for the Niners and the Carolina Panthers. All right. Interesting conversation with Anish. And I think when I look at this game, I see a 49er dominant defense and a Panthers offense that is struggling mightily. So that's where I see this game. I see a 49er defense dominating a Panther offense that is struggling, but you never know. You never know if Carolina has the ability to bounce back here and show more than they've shown thus far. All right, a word from our sponsors, and then we'll bolt for the door on the Krueger Show.
Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, call and make sure you use telmetrics.co, Telmetrix.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the crew. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number, 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krug Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krug Show t-shirt, the Krug Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krug Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, you know, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
All right, welcome back. We take one perusal of the chat before we call it a live stream. All right, David Sir says, "Good morning, gentlemen." Good morning, David. Good to see you. He says, "Any truth to the rumors the Panthers might listen to any calls for Christian McCaffrey prior to the trade deadline?" Well, I think it's going to be difficult because he makes so much money, and I don't know how you're going to move that contract. The same way we were talking, weeks ago about would anybody be there to take the $25 million plus commitment the 49ers owed Jimmy Garoppolo in a potential trade. It's a similar deal with the Panthers and Christian McCaffrey. So I don't see him moving. I think he's there. I really do. We've got this one from Eric Hernandez. What are the Panthers' key to winning this game? I would say they got to be +2 on the turnover table. Get turnovers. Brian Burns, beating Jalen Moore would probably be their best matchup. And if they can get pressure on Jimmy and force some turnovers, anything can happen in the NFL. It's seriously the bounce of the ball. And also, I think for the Panthers, they got to play with the lead. If they become a one-dimensional team and you've got this 49er defensive line that's rocking and rolling against a team that, where they don't have to worry about the run game and they can just pin their ears back and hunt Baker, that's going to be a long day for Baker. So to me, if I'm the Panthers, they got to get a lead. They got to be +2 on the turnover table. If those things happen, they absolutely have a chance to win. Zachary says, serious question. Should the Niners start Brock Purdy to see what they have? Not yet. I would say not yet. I mean, you got to go with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy's your guy. He's your veteran. Brock's still learning what it means to be an NFL quarterback. I think Brock's going to play well when he gets his opportunity, but I don't think they're in a rush to throw him out there. I think you just let it play out naturally, let it play out organically, as they say, and just see. There might be an injury, there might be a series, there might be a blowout where you can get him in there and see what he looks like. I will say this though: when Brock does get a chance to go, he's going to be good, because he's got total command between the ears. He's very accurate. And in a lot of ways, I think he's the perfect quarterback to operate the Shanahan system. Why? Because the ball comes out on time, not early, not late, on time, with accuracy. And he can digest what he sees at the line of scrimmage. He's a very cerebral quarterback. He lacks stature, but he doesn't lack ability. And people who confuse, his somewhat slight stature at 6'1", 220. Thinking, oh, he's Nick Mullins. He's not Nick Mullins. He's significantly better than Nick Mullins. So you're just gonna have to wait and trust me on that one and see for yourself. But when he plays, he's gonna play well. You can take that to the bank. John says people are sleeping on Nick Bosa nationally, number one in so many categories, and still no Defensive Player of the Year love. I agree, John. I think you pegged it. But you know what Nick Bosa needs? He needs to have a massive performance on a national TV game. If he does that, he'll have his national coming out party and he'll win the Defensive Player of the Year award. He needs that kind of love. He needs to show in a big game that he is just an unstoppable force. And I think sometimes he's so good that the line slides to him. And now Ebukam had 2 sacks last week, and Amenahu's doing well, and Drake Jackson's doing well. The other guys on that line are doing well. Why? Because of the attention that Bosa creates. Eric says the 49ers need to Draymond those Panthers. Okay, I hear you. Zach says if Shanahan would run the ball with a 10-point, if Shanahan would run the ball with a 10-point lead. Let's see, what else do we have in here? We got this one from Eric. He says, I had Monday night dinner with the New York style Italian sausage company. Well worth the wait. Eric, we're glad to hear that. Support the show. It's a great product. MF in the house says, Jalen Moore ready for the challenge? Question mark. I talked to him this week. He appeared ready. When he got in there last time, I thought he at times showed like really slow feet, like the kind of feet that would get the quarterback killed. But I just think that's being raw. I just think that's not having the reps. This week he knows he's in the fire. There is no Colton McKivitz, and Trent Williams is out, and the Niners need Jalen Moore to step up, and I think he's going to respond. He's gotten a lot more media attention this week because of the fact that he's starting. And Burns is no Pickman for sure, but I expect Jalen Moore to fire. He looked really, really good in the preseason, playing a lot of right tackle. Now they're asking him to play left tackle. And it's all about, can he get out of his stance? Can he move his feet? Can he show endurance? If it's baptism by fire to a degree, how does he bounce back? If he gives up a sack early or 2 sacks early, or if he has a couple penalties early, how does he respond? I think that's going to be a huge part of not just this game for Jalen Moore, but his career going forward. So there you go. A little taste of the chat on the Krug Show. That's going to do it for us in this live stream. We got a lot more going on later on today. We're going to do right around 4 o'clock today. Myself, Dan Coach Emilio, and Ryan Smith will jump on, and we will do a little live stream, and we'll bring you some of the video from camp the last couple days and look ahead to Niners, Panthers, and maybe a little look ahead to the NBA season, which is just around the corner. And also today's a big day for baseball. So a bunch of baseball playoff games going on today. The playoffs begin today, the wild card round. There's 4 games. Padres playing the late game. So we'll give you a little preview of Padres Mets, as well as kind of review the day that was in the baseball playoffs, and look ahead to the Niners and the Panthers and play some of the interviews that we caught in Santa Clara over the last couple of days. So hope you enjoyed Anish Shroff. Thank you, Anish, for stopping by. He was phenomenal, giving us a little breakdown of Niners Panthers. And until next time, I'm Larry Krueger on The Krug Show.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.